Just stayed really focused on the customer, building a product that really actually solved a real world problem, developing passion for doing that would end up embedding itself in the DNA of the organization, just trying to be a real business with an ambition to generate profit someday, which for a decade in the venture world was like not even a conversation. So I think that really worked in our favor. We developed good habits early on around building products, focusing on customers, being a real business.
Sam and I had it in our board decks. Jobber will be your most trusted employee. Like, we've always had this idea that we could be your assistant, your office manager, your business coach, all tied into one. And now suddenly the technology is unlocking that. In fact, 2 years out, our 10-year vision is going to land right on schedule at the
crazy. 5 years ahead, or bringing it forward.
Yeah, 2017, we said it's our 10-year vision. The opportunity to actually fulfill those roles is really, really exciting. Like, for these hard-working, tenacious entrepreneurs to be suddenly equipped with a really experienced industry expert who can be, over their shoulder, seeing the backseat of their truck, running their business when they're not around. That's a really powerful thing.
Welcome back to Tank Talks. I'm your host, Matt Cohen, founder and managing partner of Ripple Ventures. And we've got a super exciting episode today. Earlier this summer, I had the distinct pleasure of being invited to Edmonton, Alberta, to interview the founders of the amazing company called Jobber at their Choose Your Impact conference, where over 1,000 Jobberinos, that's what they call their employees, gathered for the first time in the company's history, all in one place for a week of team building and celebration. Bonus for me was I actually got a chance to see the first game of the Stanley Cup Finals, with the Oilers beating the Panthers in overtime in Game 1. In this episode, you'll hear my chat with CEO Sam Pillar and CTO Forrest Zeisler, where we cover everything from how a chance meeting over lattes sparked the idea for Jobber back in 2011, and how the scrappy startup maxed out credit cards on only 3 paying customers, and why they never quit in those early years. We get Forrest to share the first time he realized this little side hustle could actually grow into something huge, and how scaling the team and culture across multiple cities and time zones has evolved from 2 founders to nearly 1,000 employees. And of course, we get Forrest's hot take on how AI automation will reshape the home service pros industry. And my favorite part, we dove into customer stories, the tough lessons learned, and their big vision for the next decade. You'll hear some laughs, real talk, and insights you can steal for your own hustles. Now let's jump into the tank for our chat with Sam and Forrest.
It's really great to be here. I will say I did ask the team, though, if I could do this remotely over Zoom. You know what they told me? No. We work with real people who get shit done. And that's why I'm here, because I can't do it over Zoom.
You should see the guy's rider, though.
You're right. The other thing is I don't think I've ever been in a room with this many organized people all at once. And so because I was so scared to be late, I actually slept in the boardroom last night. And I was here super early because I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of all of you guys. But thank you all for having me here. Again, I'm Matt Cohen, founder and managing partner of Ripple Ventures. But today I'm here as a podcaster, so don't blame it on me. Blame it on you two, the founders. But quickly, by a show of hands, how many people have been with Jobber for less than a year? Oh, okay, perfect. How many people have been with Jobber for over a year, less than 5 years? Oh, nice. And last but not least, how many people have been with Jobber for up to 10 years, 5 to 10? Oh, okay. And then over 10, there's only 2, right?
No.
There's only 2 over 10?
Get your hands up. Over 10. Where's
over 10? Wow. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I know that this is obvious. Okay, we got Graham here. We've already pointed Graham. Does he count as over 10?
Yeah.
He counts as over 10, right? Yeah. Honorary employee, number 1. Okay, so you all have heard the story about these 2 meeting at Remedy Coffee, which we have that infamous table sitting behind us, right? Great little prop. I want to understand, though, first off, why did you talk to him? You saw him building code?
Yeah, he looked really smart.
Yeah, exactly. Why are you hitting on him?
I did go to university for computer science for a few years. I think I've mentioned before, I was a computer nerd all growing up and taught myself to program when I was young. But I re-entered the world of software kind of after a bit of a misdirected foray into management consulting. When I was going to these coffee shops, Remedy kind of being one of the main ones that would let you hang out all day long with a single $2.25 cup of coffee, I just kept seeing seeing Forrest there. You know, it was sort of very obvious. I mean, Forrest looks like a software engineer, but also, you know, we both just had like,
I don't even want to spend time on that.
we both just had, you know, our computers with like a black screen and console. It was like obvious we were both doing the same kind of thing. We just got to chatting one day and talked about, you know, what we were both working on, and one thing led to another.
I think that was the great thing about, again, it was sort of the near campus, lots of students, very friendly environment, and you'd see lots of regulars, and you sort of, everybody smile and nod. And it's like, that person's there writing a book, and this person's here studying math every day. And these are the people who are writing code every day. And yeah, we knew we were always writing code. And
you guys spoke the same language through your eyes, it sounded like, which is great. But honestly, Forrest, you took one look at his code that he was writing, and what did you realize?
He gives himself
can
a hard
say it.
time. It was plenty good.
Yeah.
Actually, one of these times was at the Starbucks on White Ave, but Remedy is mostly where we hung out. And I remember showing you the stuff I was working on, and like just the delta in capability was pretty remarkable. I had built some stuff and it worked, but it worked in the sense that like a roll of duct tape can hold together a canoe kind of thing. So Forrest brought a level of sophistication that was.
So we have Graham here, obviously, and everyone has heard about Graham, but he was your friend and is still your friend, I assume, Forrest, because he's still here. What was the specific problems that you obviously heard Graham say that you thought that what Sam had alluded to was actually applicable at the time when you guys were actually touching the code?
So I still remember when Graham, Kevin, his floor manager, took Sam and I out for lunch. And obviously we talked about a lot of problems. We talked a lot about how his business worked. But the thing that stuck with me more than anything else was when he complained about his phone bill. The amount it was costing him in phone calls for him and his employees to keep everybody in touch. It was, maybe I'm making this up now, Graham, correct me. I want to say like $430 a month, he was telling me, in cell phone overages, just trying to keep all his team in check. Pay a fraction of that to Jobber, and we can keep those messages going between everyone.
Right, exactly. So you paid attention to specific problems like that. What were you going to add there, Sam?
I was just going to say $29 is the amount of money that you could pay to Jobber to at the time. That's what we.
Speaking of 20,
but we'll come back to that phone bill conversation, because that ended up being really important to Jobber for other reasons too. But
so the lesson I always hear from people who are starting companies is they actually come to a conversation with a solution in their mind that they've already pre-built for somebody's problems. But you obviously didn't really have that mindset. You wanted to learn about the problem specifically. And obviously you heard that problem from Graham, which you probably didn't even think was a problem, to be honest with you. Why did you unpack that more? Why did you want to spend more time on that problem?
I think a lot of what we do at the end of the day is sort of try and bring order to chaos. We systemize things. So a lot of what you're doing is trying to understand how a business works. We're not experts in people's businesses, but we're experts in trying to bring order to that chaos often. So you approach these conversations with an open mind. Tell me about your business. What's not working? Where do you spend all your time trying to pull on these loose threads and herd the cats? And those are usually the biggest opportunities for software to come in and have a big difference. Particularly back then, those were some of those first order opportunities where people were going from pen and paper and, you know, whiteboards on walls. That's where those opportunities were. So I really like just listening and learning about businesses.
a little bit of extra background, like Forrest and I were both freelance software developers, obviously, when we'd met. And I think each of us had some experience like working with small businesses in a freelance capacity, which I never recommend. Like if a small business hiring a freelance software developer is the worst idea in the world. And we still hear about it from people, right, who are like, you know, sales and customer success. You'll hear often, or not often, but sometimes from someone who thinks they're going to go build some custom software that's going to do a better job than Jobber. It's really hard to do. But we both had done some of that. And the early insight was actually, and the thing that created the passion that we have for small business is the fact that we both actually built little point solution stuff as freelancers, not something as robust, you know, encompassing as Jobber, but like some very basic kind of thing that could, you know, help, I don't know, with invoicing automation, not a workflow system, but that experience is really what got the hook in and made us feel like, holy crap, like there's a real opportunity here to make a difference in the lives of these small business entrepreneurs doing something so small and in my case, crappy a lot of times, but it still worked. It still did something. It solved a problem. So then when we had the opportunity to take a bigger swipe at the problem and actually build a workflow system, as Forrest was describing, learning about how the businesses worked and spending time with Graham and just his generosity in giving us the time and spending, hours with him getting feedback about what we'd worked on just triggered a curiosity to just learn more about the business and what are the challenges that you're facing and how do all of these workflows fit together, and all right, let's go back to the whole and figure out how we can build software that actually maps that and helps you do a better job of it.
Well, it's so interesting when you hear these conversations come back in time, because you look at this audience of 1,000 people's lives that you're probably impacting, but you started off trying to impact just one person's life. Right. And now you've got this ripple effect, no pun intended, on all these people's lives as a small business operator yourselves. But there were some tough times. And I always wanted to make sure people realize that don't look at a company with 1,000 employees and, hundreds of millions in funding and be like, it just happens, because it doesn't. We need to kind of follow the breadcrumbs backwards. So there was some early years of kind of pain and suffering. You guys had, I believe, 3 paying customers for that $29 a month. I assume Graham was one of them. Maybe it was free.
I don't think he paid.
I don't think he paid.
I don't think he's still. I don't think he's still now.
He's grandfathered in. So, Forrest, what were some of those early, things? You maxed out credit cards, I heard. To get through those tough times, what did you guys have to do? And what stage of life were you in? I assume still recent grads?
It's so rare to make it to this point, right? Like, I don't think people realize that how much the odds were stacked against us. We didn't realize. I don't know if we would have done this if we knew how long those odds were. We were kind of blissfully ignorant of the challenge we had signed up for. But yeah, it was rough. We were completely broke. I was, for periods of time sleeping on an air mattress in the office, no hot water, walking 10 blocks every day to the frat house, take a shower. I'd wake up and I'd see mice going back and forth. I remember we bought a toaster oven, and it turns out every time we tried to run it, we popped the fuse. So we'd all have to turn our monitors off if we wanted to heat anything up. That was the only way that would work. And then you have these points that are really uncomfortable where you have to go to your parents and, have the friends and family around. You're selling shares to your parents of this thing that's not worth anything, not making any money. Really, it's a grown-up way of just going, Mom, Dad, I need help paying rent. And you decorate it with this
certificate,
but I'll give you, shares in this thing that really doesn't matter and it's never going to be worth anything.
That worked out pretty well for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think they're pretty proud.
Yeah. You definitely go hat in hand.
But, I remember I met with one of your earliest investors, Boris Wirtz, is a friend of ours, version 1. And he said that I think it was because of your lack of, attention on you guys over such a long period that the resilience you had from day one has carried you guys through so much of this time.
It can be a very useful characteristic. And I think being in Edmonton in 2010, when we met, launched the product in 2011, raised $250,000 Canadian from Boris in 2012, which is not even I don't even know what you would call that these days. Pre-seed checks are like $1 million US.
Friends and family, barely.
Yeah. So, but I think that experience meant that we were so far outside of the echo chamber of the Bay Area and kind of how companies were getting built, at the time and over, let's call it 5 years or so, that we just stayed disciplined. It sounds so obvious and stupid, but we just stayed really focused on the customer, building a product that really actually solved a real world problem, developing passion for doing that would end up embedding itself in the DNA of the organization, and just trying to be a real business with an ambition to generate profit someday, which for a decade, the venture world was not even a conversation. So I think that really worked in our favor. We developed good habits early on around building products, focusing on customers, being a real business. That was all because we were just naive.
I think the key thing, though, in your space specifically is you had a huge kind of wall in front of you on change management with your customers. And that was because, one, they didn't trust, the cloud. They wanted everything on a CD. They didn't obviously trust their baby, their small business being handed over to somebody else to manage their IT back end. So it says trust on everyone's shirt, I believe, right? So how did you gain that trust early on? And I also want to ask, what industries did you shy away from that you have now broken into and broken in a big way? And you only did that once you gained the trust of some of those other early customers.
I think when it came to trust, part of it was just years of improving the value, improving the user experience. At the end of the day, entrepreneurs just like they're busy. They just want things that work and work well and solve their problems. And we have it in our heads that there's a stereotype that like they're resistant to change, that they're scared of technology. But even though they're not technologists often, I find they're very open to trying things that can help their business because they got so little to lose. Like things are tight. They don't have time to mess around. And if something can give them an edge, if something can free up some of their time, they're often very brave and willing to take a leap and explore. It did take time to learn to talk their language. They don't want to have to adapt their business as Jobber. Jobber had to adapt to them. We had to show that we're a good fit for them. But I didn't find the change management was as much as maybe I would have expected.
Yeah, that's coming from an engineer. What about for the
The reality is that change management problem, it is very real. I think the reason that maybe Forrest doesn't see it that way is because it hasn't changed much over 15 years. Doing a business process change in a small business is still an absolute nightmare for these people, and they're busy and they've got better things to do. They're in their best interest to do it, but so is eating healthy and going to the gym and just all these things that none of us get around to doing. So, and for good reasons, there's other stuff happening. So I do think that remains one of the biggest challenges for Jobber as a business today. And indeed, most small businesses are still using pen and paper or some digital pen and paper to run their businesses. But on the trust question, I think one of the things that I've learned over the many years we've been doing this is that small businesses, especially in home services, blue collar trades, have a very finely tuned bullshit meter. You cannot fake it. And Forrest and I, from the very earliest days, would we were cold calling out of the Yellow Pages to find those earliest customers. Many times they were not the Yellow Pages, so these were in Edmonton. We would drive to the remote areas of the outskirts of Edmonton and go, post up in whatever sort of, in commercial area, garage, sort of a makeshift office space, and sit on an upturned bucket or whatever was there and talk to these people about the thing we were building and try to show them. At the time, maybe we didn't really realize this, that we were doing this. We really gave shit about what we were doing and how it could help these small businesses. And I think they saw that. And now, as a business of 1,000 people, that is so core to the culture of the company and so key to our success as a business that we spend a lot of time really focusing on ensuring that everyone here really gives a shit about entrepreneurs and small businesses and wants to help, because and that shines through so glowingly clear in our customer service and our sales organizations, the people who talk to our customers all the time. But it's important no matter what job you have here.
Yeah, you mentioned that meter being very high for customers. We talk about it with our companies who sell to your industries. We call it the offline to online to offline business model, where you're taking an offline workflow, bring it online into a Jobber platform, and then it has to submit back offline to go do the job. But you can't believe your own bullshit when you're selling to these people because they will call you out. Yeah. Were you ever called out? Don't lie.
People get upset for sure. There's certainly customer service people in the audience who have had tough conversations with customers who show up red hot on our front door.
Yeah, small businesses aren't very polite with words when they're angry.
Yeah, and it's totally fair. You don't have time for whatever thing has gone wrong. And we have a zero tolerance policy for abuse. And if a customer shows up on the phone line abusing us, we don't tolerate that. But we train our people to really appreciate that, you don't know what was happening the 5 minutes before that person got on the phone and called up. And if something is going wrong with the product that's preventing them from being able to invoice a customer, so they can't earn the revenue that they need to go buy the materials for the next job or pay their employee, it's a big deal. A lot of these businesses are hand to mouth. The cash flow problem is real. We occupy an incredibly important position in their businesses. So yes, we've been called out in the past, maybe in the heat of the moment, and sort of call it a crime of passion. And our reputation and our brand and market reflects this. I think generally our customers really view us as partners.
If there was nothing left to call out, I wouldn't have a job, right? It's there's still lots of work to do to make this the product that it needs to be, to really be solving all the problems our customers need us to solve. And they have every right to call us out when we're falling short. Hopefully it always comes as constructive, productive, useful feedback. It doesn't always. I think that's within their right to tell us where we're falling short. Going back to the trust, something Sam said gave me a good reminder. I think something else that really helped build trust was we weren't trying to tell people what they needed. We were really approaching it authentically of asking them what they need. When we showed up to those things, we weren't like, we've built this to solve this problem for you. It's, we've been working on this thing. How does this fit for your business? Are we on track? We want your feedback because we want this to be great for you. And just coming in with that like open listening approach was very, very effective for people to, you know, understand that we want this to be a good fit for them. And this was going to become something that would be a good fit. Even if it wasn't today, it was going to keep improving and get there. And I think that helped us really build trust in those early days.
You know, those early customer success stories are really interesting. One of the things I learned while doing some research on you guys, and it's something that a lot of software companies have a tangible impact on, is the 9-to-5 job and the 5-to-9 job. A lot of people in your industry that you service don't have a 9-to-5 job, because when they finish at 9-to-5, they have to go home and then do all the paperwork from 5 to 9. That's missed out family time, that's missed out personal time, that's missed out partner time, whatever you want to call it. And those can be devastating to people's lives. Can you tell me of a success story of where you were able to give back somebody their 5 to 9 time after solving everything during that 5 to 9 in the 9-to-5?
I have one off the top of my head. So this was a story that an SP sent us this story probably, I'm going to say 5-6 years ago now, but it really has stuck with me ever since. When they signed up for Jobbers, because they had this vision that they were going to travel. This guy and his wife, they wanted to be able to run their business from a beach in Hawaii for a couple months every year. Great, I'm happy, like we want to support that. But they ended up sending us a picture of him in the hospital beside his dying parent who was being treated for cancer, wearing a mask with his laptop on his lap using Jobber. And he was saying that his ability to run his business from the hospital allowed him to be with his parents for their dying days. And that just emotionally, like wow, that's something that it's not just getting time back, it's getting that time back. That was so important, so impactful. And they didn't have to give up their business or drop the ball.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You hear those stories. I can see it. It's in your eyes. Like those stories of where the job takes over your life and you miss out on life's things is because of what you guys have created. I mean, that's a crazy story to think that they wanted to be on a beach in Hawaii. I get it. So we all do sometimes. But that was a personal story that had a truly impact on their 9-to-5 and 5-to-9 lives. Thank you for sharing that. Did you have another one, Sam, that you wanted to add on?
I can't beat
Yeah,
that.
I don't think you can do that. No.
It's an amazing story. I mean, the one other, it's not really the same. I mean, all of the stories of sort of save time are related to ability to pursue a dream as well. And I think the other one that just like came to my mind that's kind of tangentially related is Savannah Revis. Does anybody know who I'm talking about?
No.
We have this woman who's a customer. I think it was a Jobber Grants application, maybe. Maybe it was an interview for one of our town halls, but we have these customers are so generous sharing their experiences and their sort of like the hardships in their life as well with us. And I think this was an interview for town hall, and Savannah just told us her story of, you know, kind of hardship growing up and really wanted to start a business and had a business, but it was totally taking over her life. And she found Jobber, and you know, it just like freed her up to pursue her dream in a way that she couldn't previously imagine. And the video is just, she's crying and it's like extremely emotional. Like I can't watch it without getting weepy. Those are incredible stories. I want to change it up a little bit though, just to keep everyone a little bit interested in something more personal for you, Sam. What's your obsession with arborist? That's my favorite industry for sure. I think it's an industry that is concerned with beautifying the world. And it's really cool that you're like way up a tree and you're using a chainsaw. It's like, I think it balances like, you know, kind of beauty and art and care with cool and power tools and danger and potential death. Okay. I just think it's like, I don't know, anytime I see somebody doing that job, I'm like, that looks cool. Like, what? Yeah. And you agree?
Absolutely. Like, nature's lovely. Climbing trees is fun. Chainsaws are awesome. Like, sign me up.
That is unbelievable. Both of you are not allowed to climb trees with a chainsaw. I saw it. It's in your employee contract.
Just not at the same time.
Okay, fine. It's in our key man clause.
Key man, yeah. The industry, though, that I think is one of the best and probably one of the worst for us, you know, from an economics perspective, is poop scooping. And I love...
Why is it the worst?
Bear with me. Well, the economics are bad. They don't,
Sure.
you know, easy come, easy go kind of business, low barrier to entry. So lots of churn, maybe low ASP, like, you know, they don't pay a lot for the product. The service is, you know, relatively cheap. So maybe the payments revenue isn't great. But why I love it is because probably for all the reasons that it's challenging for us as a business. And this is a really good sort of, you know, tale of the tension that exists in the business, ensuring that we always remain a partner to all small businesses, no matter how small they are, and no matter how potentially unlucrative they are for the business. Poop scooping is like a gateway drug industry. You can, and we hear these stories, like you could be, you know, a high school student and you just take the bus into a rich neighborhood and, you know, knock on doors and ask people if they want you to clean up their dog crap. And a lot of them do. And you can start a business that way. And you can even use their garbage. You don't even have to take the poo with you. You just go. And we actually have an employee who runs dog waste removal business on the side. And it's an amazing business. But I love these industries that encourage entrepreneurship and make that available with low or no barriers to entry to anyone who has the ambition to do it. And
the gateway drug is poop scooping in your industry. Okay,
gateway drug industry.
Note to self, don't get into the poop scooping business. You mentioned the Shopify sort of comparison to me when we chatted before. You guys are almost like the vertical SaaS software for your industry. How do you guys think about empowering everyone in the audience as Shopify does in their own culture to maintain that enthusiasm for entrepreneurship?
I mentioned it earlier. I think it's stories is the best possible way. And I wish I was a better storyteller.
That's why we're doing this.
We now have, yeah, exactly. And I think like gratefully our customers are amazing, obviously the best at telling their own stories. And what we try to do as much as possible is make them the center of attention. We've got a head of PR in the room somewhere, Alana, who really resents the fact that I don't want to do PR ever. Like I've got no interest in being like some kind of figurehead for the company. I want our customers to be the figurehead. I want like all the small business owners to be the heroes. I think that's great for us from an external perspective, but more important from an internal perspective, because when everyone in the room gets to hear from the people who their work impacts and benefits, you know, hear the kind of stories like the ones that Forrest told or from Savannah, it's like the impact is immeasurable. Like you just can't, you're somebody who is aligned to the values of the company and you care about what we're doing here. It has such a gravitational pull and it makes you care even more, I hope anyways.
So if people give this a high rating, then maybe you'll be more willing to do more PR stuff. I spoke to your PR person. She said to say that. Go ahead, Forrest.
I don't know if I have much to add. We're very customer obsessed here and we do everything we can to put our customers front and center, from shutting down, you know, the company for customer panels every quarter to kicking off every town hall with a customer interview to arranging it to make it really easy for ride-alongs. Every piece of feedback from NPS to cancellations to app reviews is all flowing into our voice of customer channel so everybody can hear firsthand, right? We want everybody in there. We want that exposure. People don't know this, but we kick off every single board meeting with a video of our customers. When our senior leadership team gets together for our quarterly offsites, we only have 2 days. That's really valuable time. But we take the first half of the first day to break into groups and go out and visit customers. And we do ride-alongs and meet the customers in the field. We want to make sure that like at every level, at every opportunity, we're embedding customer obsession. And I think that's how you maintain that passion for who our people are.
I love that. You know, it wouldn't be an interview without talking about AI and technology. You know, Forrest, I'm sure you're not letting Sam touch the code anymore still with Code Gen. Maybe he is behind the scenes.
The engineers don't let me touch the code anymore.
Well, you touch. Okay, perfect. What are some of the cool things, though, that you guys are excited about in terms of automations, efficiencies, and where AI can take you to the next level? Because like it's taking you 10 years plus to get here and it's an incredible outcome, obviously so far, but how excited are you guys right now in terms of how much more efficiency can be brought to your customers and then your customers as well?
So excited.
So excited.
I talked for half an hour on this yesterday. I'll try and boil down the key points, but this goes back to 2017. It's not a new thing because of AI, but Sam and I had it in our board decks. Jobber will be your most trusted employee. Like we've always had this idea that we could be your assistant, your office manager, your business coach, all tied into one. And now suddenly the technology It's unlocked
here.
that. In fact, 2 years out, our 10-year vision is going to land right on schedule.
Isn't that crazy?
Right.
5 years ahead, or bringing it forward.
Yeah, 2017, we said it's our 10-year vision. And the opportunity to actually fulfill those roles is really, really exciting. Like, for these hardworking, like tenacious entrepreneurs to be suddenly equipped with like a really experienced industry expert who can be, over their shoulder, seeing the backseat of their truck, running their business when they're not around. That's a really powerful thing. I ran through just one flow yesterday, a spring startup. So it was a landscaper, 100 customers, spring's coming. How do they go set up the schedule, do the reach outs, get people to sign contracts for the next year, all of that? Typically takes about 56 hours if you sort of time everything out. With a very reasonable set of AI-powered automations, we should be able to get that down to 4
Minutes?
4 hours out of 56 hours. And that's just a single automation. You then do that against dozens of personalized vertical specific opportunities, and we can start really being a game-changing experience for these customers.
Totally. Sam, what were you?
I think sort of zooming out a little bit and thinking just more generally about the industry that we serve, the noise that Gen AI is creating across all the different industries that are out there. One of the things that makes this so exciting for Jobber and in the space we're in is that our customers, they're not going to be disrupted in the same way that a lot of other kinds of industries are going to be. I am starting to think further afield at, humanoid robotics and what kinds of advances in portable energy are required before that is a concern. But it's going to be a long time before this kind of really advanced automation is disrupting small business entrepreneurs who are doing the kind of work that our customers do. Just as that's the case, the technology actually it's not that it's irrelevant to these industries, it has the ability to supercharge these businesses and create advantage for them in ways that, frankly, a lot of other industries don't have. A lot of the enterprise, a lot of the AI spend in the enterprise, as you probably well know, given where you spend your time, is all fluff. It's smoke and mirrors. And so we have the opportunity, though, to have real impact with this technology for a set of industries that just stands to benefit in a massive way.
Yeah, I double down on that. No one will benefit more from AI than small home service businesses.
Exactly.
For them, time is money. They often got started in these businesses because they're great at a craft, not great at running a business. They're out and about moving between different platforms with small screens or sometimes no screens. Customer service really matters, despite the fact that often they don't have the staffing to be answering the phone and delivering the quality of customer service that they want. So AI can come in and solve all of these problems in a way that will just accelerate them.
Yeah, well, for everyone in the audience, technology has always been a depreciating asset, right? Your television costs way less today than it did cost 10, 20 years ago. That's because of technology and manufacturing. The way that AI has depreciated the role of how much technology costs impacts the people at the bottom the most, not the people at the top. The enterprise customers, they can afford to pay for an $8,000 or $8 million consultant or a contract that costs 7, 8 figures. The small businesses cannot afford those fees. But if you get that knowledge available to their fingertips, it's an absolute game changer. But I guess the question is, it still comes back to trust. That will probably be the biggest obstacle for your customers to be willing to see. And it's all going to become outcomes based. So where do you think the first outcome results will be derived truly from AI will be inside of the Jobber ecosystem? Route optimizations, assistant bookings, email forms, fill outs, things like that. Is it all of that? Just language?
So the journey we've been taking actually began more with our Copilot product.
Right.
Just being able to actually answer basic questions about Jobber. You can't trust it to run your business on Jobber if it can't answer even a basic question about Jobber, right? And then we started training it on our Jobber Academy and the transcripts of our podcast and making sure that it could actually talk the talk in the language of our customers. It understood their businesses and could do reasonable business advice, but it still wasn't personal to them. You don't trust Jobber to run your business if it doesn't know your business personally. It can't just come off like generic business advice. So then we gave it the ability to actually query your data, learn about your business, we started equipping it with benchmarks. When you show somebody a prompt that says, hey, do you know your quote win rate is 20% below other 4 to 10 employee
that's cool.
landscapers in Texas?
Very cool.
Let's talk about what best practices you're not doing yet that could get your number above theirs.
Super cool.
Everybody clicks that. Like, that's where the trust comes in, when you show like an understanding of their problems backed by their data, backed by industry knowledge, and that you have a plan to solve it. And that now I think we're starting to build that trust. And after you do that once or twice, when we talk them through what the next steps are, if we say, do you just want us to run your business like with this new plan? And they just have to hit okay. We've built the trust up through those earlier steps.
I love that. That's cool.
Well, one of the things that is cool about our industry is that they don't really care about AI that much. They say that somewhat superficially, like they are actually more aware of it than I anticipated they would be at this stage. And a lot of them are using ChatGPT and other products to help day to day. When we build product and we integrate AI into it, it's not like it needs to be like, AI this, AI that. It's just the product has to work.
Yeah.
It's got to do the thing that they need it to do. And if AI is a part of how that solution is being delivered, then that's great. But unlike the enterprise, where now all of a sudden there's an AI budget item and CEOs are giving their companies directive to go buy AI products, it doesn't have a line item where it's like, show me to go buy an AI product. Like, it's like, I'm going to buy the best product to solve my business's problems. And so we've got the flexibility and the latitude to build real stuff that's really beneficial.
It has to work.
Yeah. And over a long enough time horizon, I think, Forrest has a vision for how we can build a product that is AI enabled in this space. I think if we get it right over a long enough period of time, it's not going to look like buttons on screens software anymore. There's going to be a totally different sort of modality for how customer in home services interacts with Jobber and what they expect to get from us. We're not just a scheduling platform. We're a business success platform that is going to help your small business be successful in all kinds of ways.
You guys have known each other for 14, 15 years now. You're still co-founders. That's an incredible testament to the relationship you both have. But I got to ask, first you, Sam, what's something the audience maybe doesn't know about Forrest that you know very well, quirky habits or anything? And then I'll turn it over to you as Forrest.
He did ask the question. Forrest and I were joking about this earlier.
Did ask this question. Yeah,
we're like, I don't think he's going to ask
it won't come up.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Forrest is a real car guy. He's got a real passion for
Lowriders.
Yeah, that would be really cool. No, like right-hand drive Japanese sports cars. He has this Mazda RX-7.
Like Fast and Furious?
3-engine.
Pre-Fast and Furious. To 1991, it was my very first car.
Wow.
It's really cool.
I still own it today.
Yeah, I borrowed it one time and rubbed the rim on a curb because driving on the wrong side is... Anyway, it's a really cool car.
That's cool.
First and last person I ever let drive that car.
And what about you, Forrest? What's quirky about Sam over these years?
I'll stick to the car theme. Sam really loves old Mercedes. And I know this because one of the many coffee shops we used to frequent was right across from an old car dealership. And every time we would sit there working, he'd look out and see this old classic Mercedes sitting on the lot, gathering rust, and he'd wistfully comment, someday I'm going to get a car just like that.
I love that dream. Like vintage are we talking?
It was like a 63
SL.
SL, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Convertible?
it was not a convertible, it was the coupe. It was like one of those used car lots that just sat there collecting dust. It's not there anymore. Not the dealership's not there anymore. And those cars are like insanely, I'll never have one. They're so hard to find.
I'm sure you'll get one day.
Yeah, I do love that. I do love that car.
Also, I don't know if people know that Sam used to be a bike courier around Edmonton and is famous for his skid stops.
Really? Can you do them now?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I actually have a little GIF of him doing a skid stop that I'll share in water cooler after
Thank you,
this.
Forrest. Thank you.
Okay, this one's another kind of sidebar one. Forrest, if you were not doing Jobber today, what do you think you'd be doing? First and only job, right?
Am I still in like the software field or am I like completely...
You could be completely different. Racing cars?
When I was a kid, I thought I'd grow up to be a farmer.
Really?
And I think I could do that.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are going
relaxing.
back to the
You
farms.
sit on a tractor.
A lot of software people are going back to the farms. Yeah. You know, like working with their hands.
Yeah, just growing things.
Forrest the
that
farmer.
feels
I
very
like that.
relaxing.
Sounds like a kid's book. And what about you, Sam?
I mean, similar theme. I love working with my hands. There's something, I guess, about like being on a computer all the time that just makes you want to be maybe more out in the physical world. But I love building stuff. I've always had like a bit of a hobby interest in carpentry. I guess it's weird, like sitting where I sit now, kind of thinking about what would I do if I weren't, running Jobber? Probably it'd be something like that, or start a small carpentry build.
I thought it was going to be arborist.
Build kitchens or something like that. Yeah. Arbor, well, you got to source the wood somewhere. So
I was going to say woodworking would be mine.
I'd have a vertically integrated carpentry business.
Do you guys have any founder like rituals that you still keep true today? Do you guys have like weekly coffees, late night walks or anything?
Well, I live in Toronto now, and Forrest is here in Edmonton.
Virtual walk.
So when we were both in the same city, we had a standing weekly meeting. We've kind of kept that. Like, we have a weekly meeting, no agenda. It's just a standing agenda to touch base. The reality is, like, we probably skip that meeting a lot and end up in a lot of other sort of meetings and phone calls, just dealing with the day-to-day chaos.
Those co-founder meetings end up just becoming like placeholders, but you have 4 or 5 others that are not in the calendar, end up taking over that time, so they're kind of useless.
Yeah, it's very common. Just like something's come up, I'll just ping Sam like, hey, Sam, you got 5 minutes to talk something through, and those 5 minutes inevitably turn into like 90-minute chats. And many people here have had me blow through their meetings and had to reschedule because Sam and I suddenly were on a call.
Typical.
Oh, sorry about that.
All right, before we wrap things up on the show, we always ask our guests for their fast favorite. So first, I'm going to start with you, and then you answer the same question, Sam. So first off, what's your favorite podcast, Forrest?
Lenny's.
Oh, nice. And how about you, Sam?
Good one. I really like the All In podcast. It's like maybe a little less business oriented than I would like these days.
Okay.
But
All In podcast. All right, Sam, for you, what's your favorite newsletter or blog?
Oh, Stratechery for sure.
Still.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great one.
Read it every time.
How about you?
I don't know if I have a favorite, but I'm always reading Thomas Tungus now because I know that Sam reads it religiously, and whatever Thomas talks about, he's going to ask me about. So,
well, that's a good hack. You get in front of it.
Yeah.
I love that. You probably have like an AI agent that actually just summarizes the answers for you.
they're so short, it almost isn't needed.
That's true. Okay, Forrest, favorite tech gadget?
Whichever one I haven't bought yet.
Oh, okay. What's the last one you bought?
I got one of those folding phones.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, is it good?
For me, because people send me so much stuff I have to read. Like,
You like it for the conversation starter, I feel.
yeah.
How about you, Sam?
The snoo for the parents in the, I mean, I don't know if that qualifies as a tech gadget.
Definitely for your life and sanity, for sure.
Yeah.
So the snoo, if you could describe it to people.
It's a bassinet. I think, as most people know, I had a baby recently.
Yay, congratulations.
And the snoo is a magical device sent from heaven that just like moves and plays sound for your baby. And if it starts to get worked up, it escalates. And
Just one personal piece of advice for you. It's going to be hard to travel, though.
no, we've been traveling, and
How? You can't take it with you.
I
It weighs
just
like
have to
4,000
manually rock and make sound.
Yeah, so you're the snoo.
That's right.
Okay, got it. All right. What about you, Sam? Favorite new trend?
Oh God, I'm so disconnected from trends. What is my favorite new trend? Is AI a trend?
Yeah, it is, but you already talked about it. Any health stuff? Like
I'm sort of perpetually, maybe Peloton is
that was 4 years ago, but yeah, it's still a trend.
it's probably,
Okay.
I'm so painfully uncool.
That's good. No worries.
Yeah.
How about you, Forrest?
Probably just a trend that I feel I was like a year or two ahead of. And it's nice to see I'm not like the crazy one, but just a real push towards analog. I went like
Very
from
true.
smartwatches back to like mechanical watches, started using a fountain pen to do some writing.
Wow.
Just
You were ahead of that.
disconnecting sometimes from all
like
the
that.
technology. And now I'm starting to see a lot of people do that.
That's cool. Forrest, favorite new book or most recently read book?
I'm in the process of Apple in China, which is the history of Apple's relationship with China and sort of the global influence each has had together and on each other.
I hadn't heard about that book. All right. How about you, Sam?
The only book that the book I've reread the most number of times is an old book that I've answered this question using the past. So it feels like a cheat. The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. I think I've read 4 times now. It's like counseling.
So that's the only book you've read?
The book I've reread.
You started saying that. I was like,
the most
read
number of times.
And did you end up using more of the vocabulary from the book in your own life?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
A little too many F-bombs in that book.
Sorry, was the question the most recent book or the favorite book?
Or favorite or most recent?
All right, because in the process of the one, it's not my favorite.
Okay. What's your favorite?
Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. It's an old one. It's a classic. I don't know if everything stands up, but it was the very first book about like being an executive is a skill and a discipline. And it completely changed how I thought about my role in the
Oh,
business.
fantastic. Okay. And last but not least, your favorite life lesson. We'll start with you, Forrest.
Everything's always going to be harder than you think, but at the end, it's usually worth it.
Oh, I love it. And you, Sam?
Everything worth doing is hard. I think that's just, if you can adopt that mentality about the things that you want to do, then it's easier to get through the challenges.
Yeah, I love it. It's like my favorite quote from the movie Road Trip. There's no shortcuts in life. If there was, it would just be called the way. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Give a round of applause for Sam and Forrest.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thank you so much.